picking up where I left off last time, I just kind of want to do a quick, just to refamiliarize myself too. Um, so basically, all I'd really done is set the central stairway here to be built to check down a few levels. One thing that I noticed after the stream that I guess I didn't pay close enough attention to is that I actually started off on quite a high elevation here. I'm starting off at 36 at the surface here. So even though I actually went down quite a bit, I'm still at like positive elevations here. So I might even go down a little bit further with this central staircase just to check and see what's below us. We did hit rock a little bit quicker than I thought, and in fact, I was kind of noticing when I was looking around here before the stream that I've already started to hit some really good metal veins down here. I've got, I think, a couple of gold veins that I've already come across, which are generally a little rare. So that's really cool that we found that right away. Um, one thing I also noticed is that the sand layers, I picked an embark location that's going to have sand on it, uh, is is kind of like I didn't hit any layers directly like I did in my last fortress. The last fortress was kind of nice because I had a sand layer on top, and then right below it was a clay layer, and so I didn't really have to leave my central, fortress area or have anybody walk out to the surface in order to get clay and and sand collected. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case here. I mean, worst case scenario, I'm pretty sure I can just dig over here so that I still kind of have that set up. They can sort of stay underground and get in there. But I'm hoping that I don't have to mess with the aesthetics of the base too much in order to have that point. Um, Other than that, let's see a couple of other things. So I also noticed that some of these top layer ones that I had dug out here, it just ended up being kind of open spaces on top. I do want to have access to all these stairwells, going all the way up and down. So I will probably just fill these in with constructions, which is pretty easy to do. In fact, I can kind of just set that to be done right now while I'm talking. So I'm going to build constructions and doing the stairs. It's a little bit weird the way that it works in this version. In fact, there are some there's some maybe they're bugs, or maybe I just haven't figured out the right way yet in this mouse-based version. I'm so much more familiar with playing this game with the keyboard. Um, but all the stair designations are kind of done by selecting a layer and then going up or down layers and building multiple layers at once. And in fact, if I just try to build a staircase by itself, like, it just tells me it must span multiple elevations. um, you used to be able to kind of do them one at a time, and so this has kind of created some issues for me where it's not exactly, I feel like I can't define exactly what I want to do, but I've still been able to mostly make it work. So I'm gonna go in here. I've got plenty of rock and wood at this point that I can mess with. I think I'm gonna do these with stones for now, just because I selected kind of a smaller embark location than my last one, and even though this is kind of like a densely or a somewhat woodland area, um, that's going to be definitely a rare resource. And the only downside really to doing these constructions with stone is that it's going to take them a little bit longer to haul them up, and I don't really care right now because as we saw in the last one, like, I've still got a couple of guys here that aren't really doing anything, and I actually do want to put them to work pretty soon. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and do a construction here, stairs, and just fill in these ones that didn't get filled in. So I'll do that, and I'll just have them do it with this rhyolite that I've hit here. Do that one, and then we'll do one more. And let me turn on the keep building after placement. I really like that. Okay, I think that's the only ones I hit that on. A couple of these other ones just didn't seem to dig out, which I'm not sure exactly why. I'll just redesignate those, and these ones look like they went okay. Alright, so what else? Oh, one mistake that I saw that I made was I need to clear out. I made a little bit of a mistake with my measurement on the bottom here. I went one tile too long for the center. I don't want to make that mistake. And I also want to mark this a little bit deeper. What I did here was kind of mark where this pond was. Just going to do a couple layers down. I think usually these only go like one layer down, but even the layer below it, I just want to be careful and make sure I'm not building into that. Let's see what else. Oh, comment. So you were asking if I retired a capital. Yeah, I did. I had a 9-year-old fortress, and I just hit a bug that was going to make the rest of that playthrough very uninteresting, because I wouldn't be able to do any more trade or anything like that. It seems like it's actually a bug that's been in the game for some time, but people have kind of resolved it using things like DF hack, which I don't think it works with the Steam version yet, so seemed like kind of just an unresolvable problem right now. Okay, that might keep these guys busy for a second. One other thing I might do just to help out a little bit as I'm doing these initial constructions, because why not, is just go ahead and build some feeder stockpiles for these. I'm going to do this more once I get down and actually build my real locations that I'm going to have these workshops, but for now, just to put these guys to work while they're not doing anything, I'll just build these feeders like right around them. So for this one, for now, we'll just say, you know, any stone, they can just bring it here. Sure. And then we'll do one here and just say, you know, any wood can come down here. We'll make these a lot more interesting later, but might as well give them something to do and just help out and going a little bit faster. I had this guy up here making some tables and chairs to start with, which we're going to need for like a dining room. I also remembered that in the embark I got rid of all the mugs, and they are going to want to drink that alcohol with mugs if they can, so I will probably also just go ahead and set up some mugs here as well, which I might actually have to do that at the Craftsdwarf shop. So maybe I'll wait until I get inside to do that, because it's not going to take too much longer. I think I've also decided that I want to do, so my last fortress I did the farming layer, the indoor farming layer, just right at the top. So this silt loam, I should be able to farm on this no problem. Hopefully there's enough of it here. But I can also do it on the clay loam, and I believe the silty clay loam layer. And I think I might go to this silty clay loam layer, which is like 3 levels down, just because I'm not as close to these cliffs on these layers. I don't really think I want to do a whole lot of building on these first 2 for now, just because I don't want to run into these cliffs with this location that I chose. So I'm thinking that this is going to be kind of an initial farming layer here. We'll just set up a few farms, get the plump helmets going mainly. And then I'll probably dig down quite a bit deeper for like a dining room right on top of sort of the main housing area that I want to build. So I think that's the first thing I'm going to get set up. The other thing that really strikes me as something I want to do right away, since I didn't expect to have this kind of freezing going on. I knew I selected a cold location, and I think what's going to happen here is this is actually only going to be frozen for a little while, or sometimes out of the year. So, you know, I'm in mid-spring already. Probably once I get into summer, this stuff is all going to melt. I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough time, but what I would like to do, if I do, is kind of rush over to take advantage of while this is frozen. Obviously, you can do it even if the water is running. It's just a little bit more complicated, and I'd probably make a few more saves. Manual saves is anytime I'm messing with water and flooding my base, you probably want to make some saves in case you really screw up. But I think it would actually be nice if I was able to do this while the river is frozen, because I could kind of build out the indoor water source that I'm going to use. And then when that melts, it's just going to fill it up nicely, and I can pump it out as much as I want. And it shouldn't freeze, I don't believe, once I just have my underwater water source here, or underground water source. So we'll see if I can get to that. That might be a little bit ambitious because time is going to go pretty quick. other than that, it's going to be just the main stuff setting up for the first wave of migrants and really that first caravan that's going to be coming, which I definitely want to have some crafts to be able to trade for some stuff. You know, we saw in the embark that it didn't even take an anvil or anything like that, and sometimes I wait until not even just year 2 but year 3 to start metal, but I am kind of excited hitting these, you know, gold nuggets and things like that already. I'd probably like to get that set up sooner rather than later. So all right, let's get going here. I don't think there's anything else to do other than just go on this and see what my guys are doing. So yeah, they're getting the stockpiles going. Somebody's probably going to come over here and do these constructions. I might even want to set up, I wonder if they'll do them by default. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, they're constructing the building, so we're good. Yeah, that'll fill those in. How are these guys doing here? All right. Am I fully mined yet? Looks like it. Okay, so I think I want to do the silty clay layer here. Let's go ahead and see what we're working with. Do I want to do a rock layer, like a wall layer around before I get to the farm? So that's what I did the last time. I kind of liked that. But I don't know, maybe I'll just leave it open this time and just say, just do it all. We don't need this middle layer yet. There are some optimal, so when I make these farm plots, there's sort of a decision of like how, what dimensions you want to make them. And there are some kind of ideal dimensions if you're going to get into like fertilizing the plots. You know, it's not like a 1-to-1 where you need like 1 fertilizer per square. It's sort of a calculation that's based on how big the plot is total, and there are some more favorable ratios. You can look those up if you really want. I don't care that much. Making potash isn't too big of a deal if I want to fertilize, and it's not too big of a penalty even if you're not fertilizing. It's just going to make your yield better, I believe. I don't know if it makes it grow faster too. I don't know all the mechanics, but it basically just makes your yield a little bit better. And it's not the end of the world if you don't have it. I mean, especially for, you know, if you, like I said before, as long as you're not cooking all of your seed producing fruits and you're brewing some of them, and you can kind of propagate them forever. So it's not a big deal. I think, let's see, what did I say I wanted to do here with the external? I wish I didn't delete it. I think what I said I wanted to do was a 5 up here, and on the side, like that. Yeah. That doesn't look right to me, though. It doesn't look like it's going to be symmetrical, so I might need to go one more. Right? Yeah, I think I need to go one more. And then the 5 here. With a 3x3. Oh, whoops, I'm a little bit low. Three by three, 3x3, and a. No, that's not quite right either. The 3x3 there. Hold on here. I gotta figure this out. I thought I had it right before, actually. Let's try this again. So Ah, it's because I'm leaving a wall, that's why. I think I want a wall here. If I have a workshop there. That's it. Okay. Yeah, that looks right. This and that. Okay. That looks correct. Okay, so in that case, let's mark down. So we have this marked out. So in that case, for the farm layer, if we do it here, the silty clay, why don't we give this a check and just let them do this first. Is there something else they're doing? They're storing item in stockpiles. Let's just have them only mine. And let's just 100% make sure that I'm going to be able to farm here. Sure looks like it. So let's dig this out. Unlike my last one, so last time I waited a little while to set up cool stockpiles. I might just set up like quantum stockpiles pretty quickly. I'm not going to do it for stuff like seeds, which are just not going to take up that much room and go into bags, but once I get my workshop set up for stuff like especially rock and lumber, I'll set those up so that they don't take up too much space and they can be really, really close to my workshops. But for my bags here, I think what I'm going to do is, as soon as this is mined out, I'm going to set up a stockpile for my seeds and have them get them off of the wagon. So let's set up a stockpile around here. I just want... Whoops. I don't want the stairs. Just everything around the stairs. And even this is extreme for the seeds. It's usually not going to take up that much room. Probably only a couple of those will be taken up. Oh, why did that not work? I guess I have to confirm. Accept. And we'll do just seeds. For now, we'll do all seeds here. And what do I want my miners to work on next? So next I want to do the fields around here. I think I'll just do them like super close to this and not really do too much fancy stuff here. I'll probably start small and then add over time. So I'm not going to do this here. but I would like to just know where the kind of the main sides are once I get to my main crafting levels. So maybe we'll do like, let's see, that'd be like 1. Yeah, maybe we'll do like 3x3s or 3x4s or something like that. Maybe we'll start with that. Alright, my guys brought the seeds here, which is nice. Let's see what these workshops are doing. This guy's still making tables and chairs. Looks like he's made about 3 each. This guy's done with all my beds. Oh, look at that. He was able to make a superior bed even though he doesn't have any carpentry skill. What do I want next for wood? So if I'm going to do the quantum stockpile thing quickly, I'm going to need a couple of minecarts for that, which last time I did in metal thinking that I needed to, but looks like you can just make them in wood, probably with no downsides. So let's just do a few of these, maybe 4 of them. The quantum stockpile thing is definitely kind of an exploit. Not everybody's going to want to do that. You know, it's up to you. There's a few different ways you can do it. In the old days, it was really, you know, basically you're tricking the game to get things that normally would take up a whole slot in a stockpile, just stacking them on top of each other infinitely. In the old days, that would take like, you know, the standard way to do it was sort of with like a dumping hole that would go down to another level, and you kind of set things to dump, and people will like take, you know, all your rocks because you set them like to trash, and then they take them and dump them in the hole, and then after everybody's done dumping, you know, you forbid that and then undump them all, and now they're all sitting in a hole at the bottom. But there's a really cool way to do it with minecarts that kind of function like normal stockpiles and don't have a lot of the drawbacks and manual stuff you have to do with that. And a lot of other benefits, actually, like really cool, the way that you can sort of control how many dwarves are going to participate in sort of contributing to that quantum stockpile at once, which is really cool when you get a lot of dwarves, and you don't want them all to be taken up by you know, hauling jobs for your rocks, for example. You get a very easy way to control that like this. Okay, so let's see where the farmers are. I guess I'm good with those for now. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do my farm plots like right here. Maybe as 12 squares each. That's going to interfere with that. Maybe as just 3x3s for now. We got plenty of them. You don't have to pause while doing these. I'm really just pausing a lot because I'm trying to make the best of my time, especially if I'm going to try to do something like, you know, get to this water before summer. If there's any chance that I'm going to do that, I need to not waste time. So one thing here is I'm making, so I've made quite a few different farm plots, you can, there's not really, you can like make bigger farm plots and just have them all, uh, the amount of squares, like as far as the yield goes, I mentioned fertilizing and ideal ratios for stuff like that, but other than that, there's no real difference. It's really just going to be the amount of squares that's in there is how many they can plant at a time. But the one benefit to having like more smaller ones is that you just get a little bit finer control. So each one of these, you're going to be able to set what they grow in it each season. And also, you should know that like depending on certainly whether you're indoors or outdoors, and potentially also a biome, there might be some stuff with different biomes allowing and not allowing certain things to be planted, but like plump helmets, which we're really going hard on. I don't think I've ever hit a site that couldn't grow those pretty much year round underground. So that's the main thing that we're going to be doing. But once you get more of your sort of farming industry up and you want to grow all kinds of different things, it is sort of nice to have fine control with just like quite a few small fields. It's my preference. I think I'm going to wait for these guys to build all of those before I define them. And I think I'm just for now really going to focus on plump helmets just to make sure that I get everything set up. And then once I have a good amount of that and I'm feeling good about it, I think we brought like 150 seeds, so we could probably fill out all these fields. Then I'll start growing other things. All right, so we got our seeds in there. Let's double check and just see. I didn't take that many kinds of things on the cart. One thing that it's very easy to sort of like forget. I need to be careful about these nuggets. I don't think they can be used for. They're not going to be used in this shop. But if this stockpile gets filled up with them, then it's not really helping him at all. So let's just get rid of metal ores and economics maybe. Okay, but one thing, it can be really easy to like just forget about like what you maybe don't have covered with a stockpile. We've only got a few so far. I haven't really dug out the main areas where I'm going to have stockpiles yet, but if you sort of forget, you can really just check back on your wagon for anything that you've brought that hasn't been brought down yet. So really we need very clearly a drink stockpile and food stockpile, and this is kind of like, I would consider this like ingredient foods that we want to put as input to whatever kitchen that we make for cooking, meats and fishes and things like that, and strawberries for like brewing as well. And that's really all we have left to take off of this cart. Once the wagon's done, I'll just go ahead and deconstruct it so it's not cluttering this up anymore. And then, then we should be good. And we can kind of stay more subterranean other than gathering wood and things like that. All right. Everybody's constructing the farming fields. That's good. And then I want my miners now to start working on. I think I'm going to do one workshop layer, or at least part of a workshop layer, close to the top, maybe just right below this in this rhyolite. And then after that, I'm immediately going to go down, like closer to the bottom, and keep my. And basically do like a dining room and start to build out some initial rooms in like kind of a housing area. Typically the way, like that's kind of the way that I structure things is like keeping the workshops distanced from the housing area. I don't really know, like some of the mechanics change over time, so I can't say with absolute confidence that this is still a thing or a big thing, but I know that there was, dwarves would get a lot of negative thoughts from noise pollution if you put rooms too close to workshops that are active. So that's something that I've kind of always done just in the structure of the fortress, and something that I'll do here is just kind of keep my apartments at the bottom. But the other benefit of that is if you do it right, depending on what your population gets to, it is sort of nice to do the housing area at the very, very bottom of your fortress, so that if you get more dwarves than you expect, or you want to just kind of build out your housing over time just to match the population that you have or that you expect to get in the near future, you can sort of just like naturally go downward rather than expanding out. The nice thing about this kind of design that I'm doing here, where it's all built around as like circular around this central column, is that it's preventing you from having to ever have your dwarves like go further, like a further distance, right? So one thing that I had kind of mentioned in a previous video that I did is that this is another thing that mechanically I don't know if it's changed, but it used to be the case that it didn't really cost anything more than moving a left to right square than it does going up and down. Even though obviously in real life, like going upstairs would be more taxing, but in this case it's pretty much the same thing. So this really makes it, the furthest that they're ever theoretically going to have to run to get something is going to be to the center staircase, the number of levels, and then however, whatever amount of that radius they have to walk to get to what they're going to. And like just design wise, I'm always going to be striving toward that. And I'm really going to avoid putting any kind of points in the fortress where they would have to kind of path around something, or you start to build outward and then now suddenly like they have to walk a really long distance. It causes all kinds of problems with that. Like you're gonna get distances so long that your dwarves won't even will start like not even finishing certain tasks because they'll get interrupted in the middle to go do something else, and like it can really shut you down. So there's that, and then there's also, as I mentioned in the last videos, like just FPS issues, performance later on. The less possibilities they have for their pathfinding, the better when you just start getting tons and tons of dwarves independently doing their own things. So I try to keep it as simple as possible. When I get to the housing area, I'm going to switch it up a little bit and have it go from a central column to individual columns for their different rooms. But even then, if you visualize their path through the entire fortress to their room, it's still kind of just this straight line of going up levels, walking to the center column, and then going up. Like it's not really any different than if they walked geometrically. That's no different than if they went down to the center column and walked to their room. It's still going to kind of be sort of a straight line. And I'll try to do that everywhere. I might make some exceptions for, when you get to complicated stuff, like you're doing some drainage out of the river to build like a cistern in the cavern or something like that. Obviously, you don't really care too much if you're breaking those kind of rules there, because once that's set up, you're not really having dwarves run over there. And in fact, you can even wall it off and make it not even a possibility. Or you can use, this is really cool, like you can actually designate traffic areas. Like one of the things that I can do right away is mark my central column as a high traffic area, right? Like I can just say, let me start at the bottom here and just say like this whole area is high traffic, right? So I expect dwarves are going to be using this all the time to go up and down. And if you get to the point where you've got these areas that you kind of build that are exceptions to the rules and are a little bit more windy, you can say that they're restricted or low traffic, and when it gets to the pathfinding calculation, they will really not prefer going there. They'll sort of stop their search early and take the higher traffic areas. So if you design right, I don't find that I have to mess with this that much, but it can help you depending on what you come up with. Okay, a lot to say to basically say that I'm going to wait on these to get going, and then the very next thing I'm going to do is, I think right underneath this, I'm going to build my first layer for workshops, and it'll just be right underneath the farm here. So I think now that my miners are done, I will go ahead and do that. So let's do this again. I'm going to build one of these on each corner, but right now I think I'm just going to start with this. Maybe I'll start with 2 of them. That's what I'll do. Just make sure I get this right. That's not right. No. Okay. And then I'll dig these out to build the individual workshops. And then what do I want to do here? Do I want to just make these open to the stairs? Last time I had this thing where I was like doing like a wall, you know, with doors here, but like it looks cool, but I think it's just like less efficient. So I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to just go for that and just leave it nice and open. Yeah, let's go. These guys should be almost done here. All right, we got all the farms going, so let's go ahead and go into these, and I'm just gonna set plum helmets everywhere right now. We'll change this later on, but for now, every season you're doing plum helmets in all of these. I don't think you can do these in bulk, so you kind of just got to go through them, I believe. Best to just set them right away and not wait, because it's really easy to forget. Like oh, I'll just set some spring for now, and then, you know, later it's gonna be winter and you realize like, oh crap, I never did any of this, and you know, it's hard to like keep track of everything. So it's always best to sort of like anything you feel like you can forget about later, just do it right away to keep them automated as long as possible.